Manufacturing, you're saying. Well, that's even more reason to manufacture, like to go collective and make one washing machine for 50 houses and own it together democratically, because you don't have the materials to manufacture. Well,
Sure,
steel.
sure.
You can manufacture steel with probably solar.
It's a lot more. It's a lot more efficient in terms of resources. Definitely. Yeah, it's like everyone goes to the laundromat instead of having a laundry machine in their house.
And then I gotta say is don't let that one guy own the laundromat. Just diversify the ownership of it. Have a representative share, and you can have less machines consuming less oil and less steel. I mean, there's probably enough steel though.
Oh, it takes a lot of energy to produce steel.
Yeah, it's the sun and the wind. The sun.
No, it's true. No,
certain locations
right.
at least.
And it talks. I mean, he has a pick. I mean, it's like that homepage is like.
Right.
But that's kind of the idea too. I mean, this will push alternative energies, but what he's saying is that is it too little, too late? I mean, are we too close to that tip? Yeah, that's the word, tipping point.
Right.
Too close to that tipping point where it's really not going to matter.
Well, do you try to go out? Let's say you're going to try to stop it. Do you go out and try to save everyone first, or do you go out first and try to prove that there's
stop it? You can't
right?
stop
But
it.
you can a way to deal with it.
Yes.
Like I'd say, if you had 200 million people that were on the same page, they might be able to deal with it themselves, and the other 5.8 billion might be incapable. But at least if those people did in the beginning, they'd prove there was a way, and then maybe they could then franchise that to everyone else who had no oil left. If you had a working model when the time came.
True.
Everyone would need you. I mean, you'd be like a consulting company for the world.
You would have a market. It's just it takes. I mean, obviously,
You'd have the market.
It's a matter of. I think it's a matter of. It's economics, of course. It's political, and it's also psychological, because especially in this country, in the past 150 years, well, our whole America is predicated on the idea that as long as you work hard and stuff like that, you can advance. And the idea of advancing is essentially economic.
Right.
I have money, and
it's getting a larger part of the pie in a large way, right? They're saying,
yes.
which obviously does reduce the remaining share, unless the whole ocean is rising.
No, that's true. I mean, that's very much true. I mean, you talk about the distribution of wealth and how the top 2% now versus 20, 30 years ago. It's that difference between the lowest 20% and the top 10% is just widened. And that's due to a lot of other factors too, but it's just pretty interesting. I mean,
it's all very interesting, and to me,
it's a big issue. So it's something you can't like I said, it takes a long time to really. Like I said, I just stumbled upon it on Saturday, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more. But
I will. I mean, I'll read some, but I find myself not actually reading more than like 2 pages of anything.
Yeah.
Lately.
Oh, there's a lot of information out there.
I mean, I'm just frazzled like a motherfucker. I moved into a new place, got my shit stolen, got to set everything up again. I'm supposed to be trying to finish something this summer, like in a different way than other summers. I don't give myself the time to sit down. I'll read like a remote controlled flying magazine for a while, but it's really just like a picture and a quotation, like get ideas for something somebody else is doing, or popular science, something really easy.
Yeah.
I should though. I'll look into it.
I thought you might be interested.
I just assume that it's gonna happen. It's going to happen. It's probably going to happen faster, and people are not prepared for it. And it's going to take something to deal with. It's going to take something revolutionary. It's not some like, we're going to really all progressively change at a decent rate. It's something. There's got to be this point of no return. There's got to be a point when things are switched to the other system too. Somebody somewhere.
Look at the issue of food right now. There's already in certain countries there's food embargoes happening. There's food riots happening. In these really poor countries. I mean, when people spend 80% of their disposable income on food, right, in poor countries, and the cost of food rises 40%, that's dramatic. Or if we spend 10 to 15% on food, it hurts, but we can still get by. I don't see
we can still easily get by. We just have to give up some shit, maybe.
I mean, the guy I was reading, one analyst for Goldman Sachs, he's predicting, if certain things happen, we could probably hit $200 a barrel in 2 to 3 years.
What's it, 100 now?
It's at 135. And
how long? I mean, it could happen faster than that, right?
The consensus generally is that it's gonna, because there's a lot of market people playing the game,
and a lot of people still selling. I mean,
there's a lot of hedging and stuff like that too.
Right.
But they're thinking that it'll probably maybe swing back down to 90. this is like a spike, then it'll then go back up. But the guy 3 years ago who said 200 possibly 3 years ago said 100 within 2 years, and everyone's like, no, that's impossible. They're like, everyone said it's impossible without a major geopolitical event. Well, we didn't have any major geopolitical events, and oil still crushed $100.
Right.
It was supply and demand, simple market forces at work, and we crushed $100.
What is the last big political event? 9/11? I mean, was that
globally? Yeah. I mean, Iraq war a little bit, but that, yeah, in terms of a global economic force, was 9/11.
Before the world changes, corporations will change, right? Like the future kind of does in a way, it's probably going to depend on the developments on corporations.
A lot of what they're saying there's a mention here is that a lot of these oil companies, the reason they don't want to build, they're all about maybe refining. They want to build like big new oil refineries and stuff because they know they're not going to get their money out of it because
not enough time.
They're not going to get the return on investment because the oil will run out. They know it already.
So you have these oil companies, and they become evil. I think they're taking Mother Nature's resources, selling them at a high price.
They have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize shareholder value. It's illegal.
No, but value can be determined in different ways, though. Like we
talked about this.
Value is just whatever the quality of a person's life. Then you can do much different things, and I think this is the reason for fucking. I don't know. There's other systems, but I think solar hydrogen, at least. Like if you talk about a corporation, it's not an oil company, it's not designed to screw people, has all these great purposes and has a great constitution. And you can really go out, I think, and get enough surplus from people that you can build an alternative system. If you have to dedicate like food and energy, you have to focus. You probably have to start with very small houses. You have to do some crazy things to get a surplus to be able to afford the system, which in 10 years would break even and give you almost free energy.
Yeah.
I mean,
well.
Massive scale stuff, though. You need millions of people to believe to pull it off, and I still think the only way to do that is fucking YouTube.
Well, my opinion is, and some people I subscribe to it, and that's because I want to, because I just generally think it's the truth. I think our country, in terms of its power, has peaked. I don't know. I can't tell you when. It's like this. And he says
so quick too.
You're not going to know when this happens till it happens. It's
right.
only something you can look at going back.
We were at the top for only 50 years, right?
World War II.
World War II to now.
But as the speed of our civilization advances, everything runs quicker. Lifespans become shorter
right.
in terms of power and stuff like that.
The cycles.
The Roman Empire was 600 years.
Probably the same amount of stuff happened, like 600 versus 50 years.
Technologically, though, the British Empire was about 150 years. We were about 60. It's just that speed. That turnover, it's just increasing. It's I mean, we've had our time in the sun. And
what's next, though? Like that's the thing. I believe that if it's a nation, I ask a question and then I start talking. But I think that if it's a nation, a pre-established nation that becomes the next power in any way, we're in deep trouble. I think it has to be. I really think it has to be something that starts small. If something is to acquire power, become the next empire, it better have brilliant underpinnings, or we are in deep trouble. This is our one shot because of the internet, because of the crisis, our one opportunity to get people together.
Yeah, it's true.
And say you need a different formula. You cannot run a debt formula.
How can you tell all these people in China and India that they can't have a car?
No, you don't. You start. I say you publish a story to everyone who can access it and who believes in it, and you work with them to go to one location and build, that societal experiment. And say, listen, it works. It just works. You're not going to even have to work any harder than you work now because we're saving so much of your labor by sharing. You may hate the idea, but listen, it works.
I agree.
And then you can have this energy. You can solve your problems. You cannot fucking do it alone. And you can make a fortune doing it. And if you're a nonprofit, then you can fucking use that money to change the world like a fucking tidal wave.
I think borrowing